Hello everyone, Kevin the Switch Hippie here with another exciting episode of Outdoor Adventures with the Switch Hippie. And today's outdoor adventure is going to start with a story. Oh yes. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I used to live in Scotland. I lived in Scotland for several years. I lived in the town of Thurso, which is the very north end of Scotland in Caithness. So it's the very last train stop in mainland Britain. And in order to get from Inverness, which was the big city in the area, up to Thurso, you have to take the A9 out of Inverness, and it would route you through the small town of Ardguy. Now, nowadays, they built a Durnock Bridge, right? So you don't have to go through Ardguy anymore. You used to take a big bridge to where you need to go. But when we used to go through Ardguy, I used to love to see the local guys. They would fish that river there, and they would do the spey casting. And basically what it is, spey casting was developed on the Spey River, which it just starts in Aviemore in the Cairngorms, and then it bottoms out into the North Sea by Aberdeen. And basically they're about 13, 14-foot rods, and it's kind of like a modified roll cast almost, that you use for swimming streamers down in these big chunky rivers in Scotland. You don't use a regular rod because there's no backcast because of all the trees. So I used to see these guys in Ardguy and say, oh, I would just love to learn how to do that. So we moved out of Scotland, we moved up here to Colorado, and they had a class at St. Peter's Fly Shop in Fort Collins about spey casting. So I wanted to learn how to do this. So I bought a spey rod, and I bought all the gear and learned to do different spey casting in Fort Collins, right? With the intention of going back to the Spey River in Scotland to fish that. Fast forward, I had booked a beat on the Spey River up by Aviemore. And of course, COVID happened, so that trip was canceled, and I never got to go spey fishing. So, dang it. So the next thing I did is that I took my spey rod and I took it up to Alaska. And I thought, Alaska, this would be perfect. Well, it wasn't, that didn't happen either. Because when I took the rod up to Alaska, I had booked 7 days fishing. I had booked 10 days fishing, and I was 6'7". I had COVID. I was sitting there in Anchorage. I went up to Talkeetna, then Anchorage down the Homer. I was sick as a dog. I think I got 1 day fishing on the ocean that whole time. So I still had this spey rod that I haven't been able to use very much. I took it out a couple times, but never anything serious. So anyway, so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spey rod. I've got two of them here. This is the traditional spey rod. This is an Echo. And this is 13 feet. So spey rod is usually, I think it's 12 to 14 feet long. And they're big chunky rods too. And again, the purpose of them is to swing streamers through some rough water, right? But we don't have rough water here in Colorado. All I have is a lake and a couple of small streams. So we're gonna try the spey rod. We're gonna try the spey rod in the lake, North Lake, to see if I can catch anything on it. And I have not practiced my spey casting in a long time, so I think I can't remember the parry poke or the whatever the other ones were. So we're gonna try to remember this as I go out there. So I have a 13-foot, and this is a TR. This is an Echo TR Spey, and here is a reel. This is I think it's just a cheap Okuma reel. I just bought it, and this has got the traditional spey line on it. So this is a traditional spey, and I'm going to use the traditional spey rod, and we're going to take it up to North Lake and to see North Lake. We're going to hit North Lake today, I think. And we'll see if I can't catch anything on the spey rod, understanding that this is not what it's designed for, right? We're just going to go into the lake to see what we can get. But I will say this is that there's also what they call a switch rod, where the switch rod is about. This is 11 feet 4 inches, and this is Orvis Clearwater. It's kind of the same principle, except it's just shorter and it's a lighter rod. So it's a 3-weight, but not really a 3-weight. And for that, I've got here This is the Clearwater reel, and I do believe this is just called the switch line. Is it called a switch line? I think that's what it's called. So this is just, it's just whatever reel makes for this kind of rod, a switch rod. Normally with, like over here, normally you have, when you have a Spey line or Spey rod, you have two lines. You have a Skagit, which is kind of short. So it's got a short, chunky, weighted at the end, right, for casting big flies. And then you have here, this is, I know it says Skagit on here, but this is actually a Scandi line. And a Scandi line is a longer belly in it, and it's used for a more delicate presentation. So normally we have I'll put one of these two on the Spey line, but I had actually bought a traditional Spey line for this reel to use with the Spey rod. Does that make sense? Anyways, we're gonna go up to the lake. We're gonna bust these things out, let them run around, and see if we can't catch something with it. Again, understanding that these rods are designed for river fishing, big chunky rivers. We don't have anything close to here. I did have the Orvis, the Clearwater. It's called a trout Spey too. I think sometimes they call it a trout Spey. I did have this on the San Juan River in New Mexico, and I did catch some on a woolly booger. I did catch quite a few trout, nothing huge, but we're going to see what happens with both of these rods out there today at North Lake. So I hope all of that made sense, but let's get, I need to get showered, I need to get some food in me, and let's get out there and see what damage we can do. Well, I've caught a couple fish on my regular fly rod, my Sage Approach. Now I'm going to try the Spey rods. The first one we're going to do is the trout Spey, the Clearwater. I actually have a sink tip on this. I don't know why I put a sink tip on this, but we're going to use a sink tip that's here. And I got a woolly booger on there. And I'm going to go here on the lake and make a fool of myself trying to cast this damn thing. So let's practice casts here. So let me see if I can't try this again. Okay, here we go. I'm going to bounce along since there's no current to take it. So I'm going to do flip. Start. Get off of there. Let's try again. Are we done? Are we done goofing around? So I'm going to go this way. And then drag it along and then cast it like this. Oh, well, it got out there pretty far. It's been a while since I've cast like this. All right. Let's see. Oh, look at that thing. There's a nice rainbow. See that? Net. Okay. There's a bugger. There's our little bugger. Come on. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. Let's go try the traditional Spey now, see what we get. What do we got here? There it is. So this is on the traditional Spey. thing in, have a wee look. Caught out here. Yeah. How's that? Oh, this thing's jumpy. Huh? How's that? Oh, can we see that? And that was on the traditional Spey rod. So, they work. All right. So how did we do today? Well, on the traditional Spey rod, we did catch some trout in there. It's very awkward to cast, and certainly in a lake situation, probably 10,000 times better on the river. On the trout Spey, which is the clear water, caught a lot of fish too, but it's not as awkward as the traditional Spey, but it is kind of awkward and bulky to cast at. I can see in a stream situation, a big chunky river, these two rods would be absolutely fabulous, but maybe not so great here in the lake. And then obviously for just the regular fly rod, right, the regular 9-foot fly rod, lots of fish, very much easier to cast than those other two. So I don't know, maybe we learned a lesson here. So I'm going to pack up my trout Spey rods here, and I'm going to put them away for another year, or in case I happen to have a chance to return to Scotland and go fishing on the Spey River. So it's one of my bucket list items, so we shall see. Anyway, this is Kevin the Switch Hippie. We'll talk to you next time here at Outdoor Adventures with the Switch Hippie. Beautiful lake here too. You know, I had to go to Monument because there was a wind issue over at North Lake, so I came back to Monument. So all right, we'll see you next time.